Alright guys, I've been wanting to do this video for a while. Let me do this real quick. Let me turn the TV off. Just wanted to do a quick little fun shop tour. This here's a quick video of my shop. I'll go over all the tools here in a minute. I don't know if anybody knows that I dabble a little bit in woodworking, but sorry for the shaky video. It's going to be a handheld one today. But I like the old woodworking tools. They last longer, seem to be well made, and I rebuild them. Some of them I repaint, some of them I don't. Still working on some, but this here is a little 6-inch Walker Turner jointer. Picked that up for, well, I don't know, 75 bucks I think is what the fellow wanted on Craigslist. And then I don't know if you'll be able to see it up there next to the heater. It's an old radial arm saw. I don't really use it very much. Tried it for a while, never really liked it. Up here is just a bunch of old storage stuff. Some old magazines from when I was young. And that there is a chainmail figurine. That's a different video, but anyway, so over here we've got one of about 3 toolboxes I own. Storage rack, chainsaw down there that we used last night because we had some limbs come down. An old home-built air compressor, hose reel, a bunch of other odds and ends there. And then we got an old Homecraft Rockwell drill press. Pretty sweet little unit. I use that one strictly just for mortise and tenons. And I used it to do all the mortise and tenons on this bench that I'm still working on. Ran out of wood for the top. I gotta go get some more. It's just cheap 2x4s. They're actually 2x2s that I got off an old buddy. And the wood for the legs is an old growth fir. We had a barn when I was, I don't know, 12 or so. Tore it down with my dad and his friend and a buddy of mine. And tore it down, and I found a piece of wood back on my dad's farm, big 4x4, and I trimmed it all down and made the lumber for the legs. This is the newest project I'm working on. Just a little storage, what they call them, a hand plane till for storing planes. And then you can see back behind there I've got a little wooden puzzle on top of a whole computer that I'm working on. Oh, and some stuff I picked up at my other fun job at the Air Museum. And then here I've got some old little squares for making some more puzzles. Some drills, radio, sorry for the funny light there, storage for nuts and bolts and all that, router. Of course, you gotta have TV. We got, today we've got, they're redoing my car I want to have someday. A Cobra, Mustang Cobra. Gotta love those cars. And Peanuts. That's what the other TV in the house the kids are watching, so I like to keep an eye on what they're watching. Got a belt sander. I picked that up from my grandfather. He used it for years. Storage rack. I don't have a lot of wood in it anymore. I've got some walnut there that's drying. It's been drying for a couple years. Cut it down on my dad's farm. It's all real thick stuff. And then some odds and ends up here, Purple Heart and I don't know, Paduke and a few things, nothing fancy. And then a lot of just scrap down here from projects. And then on the back side, I've got a bunch of 1x3s. Those are the ones that were left from the bench top, but they're all they're crap. They're all twisted and bent and whatever. So I'm redesigning this rack here shortly, and then in the middle I've got sheet stock. Not much, but there's a little bit in there from some projects left over. I'm rebuilding this here. I'm going to put my compound miter saw, which isn't in this shop right now because it's in the house on my basement remodel. And we've got a storage rack for a bunch of clamps. There's a bunch in the house too. And then underneath all this junk here, I've got a old furnace fan inside there with some air filters on the back side. I use that for dust filtration. And then this is my newest, well, not newest, I've had it for quite a while, project. I picked up a bunch of old postal boxes, post office boxes, and I'm going to make a bunch of piggy banks out of those. There's probably a dozen of those. Some for my kids and some for whatever. And then I've got a granite back behind those little piece of granite sink cut out. We use that for flattening stones and everything else, or sharpening stuff. Second toolbox, I added that middle section quite a few years ago because this was the first toolbox I ever had and I needed more storage space. So it's nothing fancy, but it suits the purpose. And then in this corner, that's an old calendar from 2010. Way old, but still some cute girls. Still have it on June. Looks like 2 years ago my birthday would have been on a Thursday rather than on Sunday today. But anyway, this is just all kinds of storage. A little giant ladder, some more scrap lumber, my grinder. I got some old tools for foundry work back there, and a chair I'm trying to rebuild that I broke. And then these drawers are just shallow, full of all kinds of stuff. Plumbing and electrical and all kinds of good stuff in here. All my tools and such. And then I'm going to skip back over here to a couple different things. This here is a 1940s unisaw. I redid the paint. I saw a fellow, I think it's Powermatic, makes this paint job where they have flames on the bottom of their saw. That's kind of what I was shooting for with this, but didn't get there. I'm kind of tall, so I put it up on this stand. I built this door for it. Dust door. It's all full of dust. And then a dust port was already cut in the floor, so I wasn't too worried about that. Bullet molder. And I'm in the process right now of building a door or a cover for the motor, but that's yet to be done. I've got a excuse the sawdust, this is a working shop. I don't do a lot of cleaning out here. Got a router on the side with a really nice router razor, and my, what brand router is that? Porter Cable, I think. This is all micro adjust, everything else, different insets that you can put in it and whatnot. And this is of course not the original fence for the unisaw. That's up above there. I've got the old rails and that, but I much prefer the Bisomer style fence. And put that on this one. It came off an old saw I had. And then there's my dust collector underneath. Goes over to the wall. hits all those hoses. What a mess. And picked up my CH&E bandsaw. It looks like a pretty big machine. It's got 20-inch tires on it. The problem is you can't gain any additional throat length. You can't raise it at all, just the way the cast iron is cast on the back side. And yes, it is cast iron, the buddy I bought it from. Put it on my truck with a forklift. I tried to get it off my truck by myself, to no avail. Had to con my neighbor into helping out. Let's go around here to the back side. This big piece here is all cast iron. And then right where that little badge is where it breaks, and it goes all the way across and under that table. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. But fun little bandsaw. I got blades everywhere for it. So right here we've got an old Parks planer. A friend of mine brought this back from Minneapolis? I don't remember. 12-inch. And I think it'll do up to 8 inches thick. 4 inches thick. 4.5. Fun little thing. I built the dust cover, repainted it, did all that, put it on a mobile base. It sits in this corner because I don't use the lathe a lot. But I do a lot of planing of wood. Every single one of those 2x2s, and there are 16 of them in there so far, and I need another 8 or 12. We're planed on two sides glued together, and then planed on the other 2 sides. So let me excuse the wiggling. I'm going to try and pull this out quick so you can see the lathe. Got a Delta 1460 lathe. Picked this up off Craigslist as well. It needs some work. I started working on the tailstock and never got very far. I don't know anything about turning. I've fiddled with it. Obviously made myself a little baseball bat and a couple other things. Nothing fancy. Original motor. And it needs to be cleaned up. I put new bearings in it. That's about as far as I got. And I think I sent the motor to a friend and he put new bearings in the motor. I don't remember. But it's got 6 or 8 different things and an orange safety stripe that the school district put on there. I'm not sure what that's for. Whatever. Original cast iron legs and bed. Everything else. I think this will do, not sure, but I think it'll do 8 inches or 6 inches diameter, and up to about, I'd say about 3 foot. It's like a 4-foot bed or something like that. Cast iron legs, a bunch of turning tools down underneath there, and some other odds and ends. On the back side here I've got, you can't really see it very well, but that is my floor sweep for sweeping up garbage hooked to my dust collector. I'm redesigning that a little bit I think too, but is what it is. Up above, oh, looks like I've got my welding mask and some other odds and ends. This in here is mostly woodworking. I do have some metalworking stuff in here. The other garage has most of my metalworking stuff. Well, my lathe. It's about all the metalworking I've got. This is my first drill, the Ryobi. I love it because it's got a rheostat variable speed on top, and you can go from 500 to 3,000 RPMs. And works great. Old drill that doesn't work anymore, but I still hold on to it. I don't know why. And my little scroll saw, I don't use it very much anymore either. I use the bandsaw more than the scroll saw. I don't do a lot of fine intricate work, filigree or any of that kind of stuff. So that's my first. It's called a Tom Lee. It's a 4-inch jointer. Did alright for a while. I bought it and I made it this stand for it and got a switch and everything hooked to this motor. And well, I bought a 6-inch and got bigger, and now I should sell this one, but it sits in the corner and does nothing basically. And then, oh, I got this fun motor from my father. It had been sitting in a dirt pile for years. It's an old Craftsman quarter horse. 1750 RPM, 80 cycle, 110. Cleaned it up. It's got bushings in it, so it runs like a dream. Can't even hear it running. And he hadn't used it in years. It'd just been sitting there. And I had an old washing machine motor on it when I got this scroll saw, and I put that on there because I thought it looked cooler, and it runs nice. This here is a old hand plane that I got from my grandfather. He passed away quite a while back, 4 or 5 years ago now, and grandmother just passed away at 99, so we went through a bunch of the estate stuff, and I grabbed one of the old hand planes. I don't even know anything about it. I just wanted it because it was my grandfather's. Second kind of cool, as some people like to say. And then this is my dust pre-separator. Dust comes in on this tube, hits that, spins, air goes through, and then over to my dust collector. And that board there is an old apple tree that I cut down years ago, and I've been dragging it around for years. I'm kind of a wood hoarder. You know, they've got that hoarding show on TV. Well, I hoard wood. What do we got here? I've got 4 or 5 pieces of oak. Funny board. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's pine. Board siding from that barn that we tore down. I've got a bunch more I need to go get. Just some pine 2x6s, some treated green lumber. And then over here, that whole shelf there is black walnut. Some small pieces for pens and blanks and that kind of stuff. I don't know. There's glued up kind of fancy Purple Heart and probably some ash, looks like, and yeah, that might be poplar. Just some odds and ends. There's some cottonwood that I cut down. That was what I was cutting yesterday with my chainsaw. These boards here are aptung from South Africa. Really neat stuff. My dad gets it from back home from his work. And then here's a piece of aptung. Let me grab it. Let's see if we can get some good light. Really neat figure on the ends. I don't know if it'll focus. It might focus better there. It's almost like bamboo. Problem is it's covered in salt and that. This was my 9mm bullet I made on my lathe. I was just messing around one day, putzing. But let's see, any other tools that are out here that I can think of? That's about it. Pretty boring shop tour. I've got some arch stuff out here. This is a 75-pound plus suit of armor back in the good old days that I made. This will fit me, but it's heavy. That's got a copper cross in there, 4-in-1 weave. Not that anybody would know that would look at this video, but that's kind of cool. And we've got some bullet targets and stuff from shooting. I'm kind of off shooting right now. I broke a gun the other day and returned it to the manufacturer, and they're supposed to be sending me a new one. Just kind of waiting. But anybody wants to know any specifics about any of these tools, give me a holler. By no means am I an expert, but I do like to fiddle, rebuild them, tear them all apart, repaint them. and do my best to make them work good. Anyway, just a fun little video. Hope you enjoy. This is Finland Full, and I'm off. Thanks.